The Rise of Hitler and the Nazis, 1919 to 1933. This is part 1, 1919 to 1928. So Adolf Hitler was a corporal in the German army during World War I. He was sent to spy on political groups such as the DAP, German Workers' Party. At first, it was founded by Anton Drexler in 1919, and the party was upset about the abdication of the Kaiser, the politicians who signed the Treaty of Versailles, democracy as a means of government, and blamed Jews for weakening the economy. Hitler actually agreed with the party's views and joined the party in September 1919. By 1920, Hitler and Drexler revealed the 25-point program, which included scrapping the Treaty of Versailles, establishing Lebensraum, which expanded Germany's borders to let its people live in more land, and took away citizenship of German Jews. The party intended to use as much force as possible to carry out the 25-point program. Hitler was very energetic and passionate in his speeches, attracting 1,100 members by June 1920. So what was Hitler's role in the party, aside from establishing the 25-point program? Well, in August 1920, he changed the party name to NSDAP, referred to as the Nazi Party, the National Socialist German Workers' Party. So he thought that national would attract traditionalists that wanted the old Germany back, and socialists to include the working class. He adopted the raised arm salute and swastika in the Nazi flag, and he raised funds to buy a newspaper which let the Nazi party spread its views. Hitler became the party Führer in mid-1921 and created the SA, or the Stormtroopers, which were the party's private army. The SA provided security at meetings and acted as the party's bodyguards, making the party look strong and organized. The SA also broke up meetings of opposition groups such as the Communist Party, making Germans unable to hear other parties' policies. So the SA were both on the defensive and the offensive. The Munich Putsch, 1923. There were 3 causes for this uprising in November 1923. Hyperinflation and the occupation of the Ruhr were making Germans very angry. So Hitler exploited Munich, where there had been the most Nazi supporters, to use the anger against the government. Hitler understood that Stresemann would be able to solve Germany's economic problems very quickly, so Hitler had to act quickly before unrest died down. And lastly, Stresemann's government had recently put down a left-wing revolt and cracked down on left-wing parties, so Hitler knew very well that right-wing parties were next on his list. What actually happened in the Munich Putsch? On the 8th of November 1923, Hitler burst in with the SA into the Bavarian government's meeting in a beer hall and threatened to take over the government. 3,000 supporters, supported by SA members, were sent to each key building in Munich to take it over. Hitler then proceeded to march onto the town center to declare himself as the president of Germany, with his key supporters and his shock troops. The Munich Putsch failed, with 16 deaths of Nazis, and Hitler was arrested as the state police came to stop them. What were the effects on the Munich Putsch? The NSDAP was banned, and the Putsch was a defeat and humiliation for Hitler. But the ban was enforced lightly and lifted in 1925. The very key effect of the Munich Putsch was that it was a very lenient prison sentence for Hitler. It was a minimum of 5 years for Hitler, but he was released after only 9 months. Hitler gained national publicity through his views in the trial. The publicity gained through the trial got the party 32 seats in the Reichstag in the 1924 election. And it was very useful for Hitler, as he used the time in jail to write Mein Kampf, which contained his political ideas and the background of the Nazi Party. It enlightened Hitler. The time in jail gave Hitler time to think about his beliefs and political ideas in Mein Kampf, and The failure of the putsch showed that taking power by force was unlikely to work. And as a result, Hitler changed his entire approach and intended to get into power in the government by using the democratic system against itself. New organization and funding. Hitler had appointed a secretary and treasurer and divided the party into regions, appointing a network of people who were answerable only to him and ran the NSDAP in each region. And Hitler improved party finances by befriending Germany's most wealthy businessmen, and by the early 1930s had already been receiving donations from German industry giants such as the very famous Bosch. The extra income gained had been used to strengthen the SA, expanding members to 400,000 by 1930 in full uniform. Hitler wanted loyal bodyguards and did not trust the SA, who had developed dangerous loyalty to Ernst while Hitler was in prison. So the SS was set up in 1925 to be another new party security group for the Nazi party. The SS leader role was handed to Heinrich Himmler, where the black uniformed men would be widely feared for their ruthlessness. Nazi propaganda. Dr. Joseph Goebbels was in charge of the NSDAP in Berlin. He worked together with Hitler to spread Nazi propaganda. One of the things that he and Hitler did was created scapegoats. The Jews, communists, and moderate leaders such as the Social Democrats who signed the Armistice and the Versailles Treaty were all blamed for the German problems. Hitler became the voice of the Nazi Party, and in the 1930s, his speeches were reported in 120 Nazi newspapers, read by hundreds of thousands of Germans across the country. As a result, Hitler was everywhere. Radio, films, gramophone records to keep Hitler in the public eye. He even flew from venue to venue to speak at up to 5 cities a day. This created an image of strength for the Nazi Party. It was set by Hitler's energetic passion for Germany, the spectacle of massive Nazi rallies, and the SA and SS power. However, even if the Nazi Party was well organized by 1928, the Nazi Party was not very successful in the 1928 elections. There were a lot of reasons for this. Inflation had eased, employment had increased, and the German public was better off. So extreme parties like the Nazi Party was not very supported by the people. Since Germany's economic problems have improved, Stresemann had also regained status for Germany internationally on the world stage. And in 1925, Paul von Hindenburg became president, which boosted the Weimar Republic's reputation because he was an ex-field marshal for the German army in World War I. As such, German voters supported moderate parties, such as the Weimar government. The Nazis won only 12 seats in the May 1928 elections, and they were only the 9th biggest Reichstag party. They even only had 2.6% of all German votes.